You need to get your produce to the market. You need the roads. We need to manage water better. We need storage for grains once they are produced. We need to encourage people to set up processing plants. But the governments have to create the right environment, the right regulatory environment to attract these investors. But they have to take a holistic approach. For example, when we talk of developing a breadbasket region, it will require the government working with its private partners to ensure that the infrastructure is there, the feeder roads are there to get to the farmers, to get the goods to the market. In some situations, to make sure irrigation systems are there for the farmers to help. And I think different governments will take different approaches, but all these are needed. And NAGRA cannot impose a standard. We can describe what is required, but it has to be done.
I'm very, very glad we did, and I'm very excited about the future. But you spend about $1 million to build a commercial operation before you've even planted a seed, dealing with customs, dealing with clearing containers at the port, dealing with land access issues, dealing with many different things. So my question is, to paint a picture for a prospective investor, what initiative is being undertaken to try to create a clear picture to a prospective investor of the vertical integration of what would be a modern farming system? Because when you're going to invest $1 million or $10 million or $20 million, you want to be able to see that you're going to be able to bring that to market, which involves transport, customs. I could go on and I don't want to go on. You know what I'm talking about. So my question is really, is there an attempt or some kind of organized way to present a clear picture to a prospective investor from the United States or Europe or anywhere on taking the food chain, so to speak, all the way from seed to market?
Inputs, and it's really, really encouraging to see that you guys are leading the effort and leading it well. I think a round of applause for our panelists. And of course, thank you very much for bringing a great audience. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gents, thank you to our panel and thank you to Dumi. We're going to take a 30-minute break now. Refreshments are available in the lobby. And if you have any issues, the forum staff is on hand to assist you. As I said, we'll be back at 12:15 promptly. And it is important that we come back on time, ladies and gents, so that we can get through the day. Also remember that our next panel discussion will be on the investment opportunity. Thank you. See you at 12:15.
Yeah, please.
To organize themselves into associations and to eventually transforming themselves into cooperatives where they can bulk their produce, they can strengthen their institutions, their local institutions, to be able to bargain properly. And they have to have access to markets. In short, we're looking at the whole value chain. It's important that we understand that agriculture is a business. It is not just the profession of poor people in rural areas. If we look at agriculture as a business, our business, therefore, is to see how can it be profitable. And this is why I believe that we have to create incentives, we have to help farmers to organize themselves so that they can have access to markets. It's not enough to encourage a farmer to increase production, because after increasing production and is not able to transport his produce to markets, he's at a loss. So the access roads must be there to link him to markets. He must have market information. And present-day telephony technology allows farmers to be able to negotiate prices within their own country through simple use of SMS. So what is the issue here is that we must eliminate poverty, we must eliminate hunger and malnutrition, because these are unnatural. We must increase productivity and incomes for small farmers so that they should be profitable in order to improve their quality of lives. The other issue that I think it's important for us to recognize is the role of women in agriculture. women in Africa, as in most developing countries, are engaged in the most difficult aspects of the value chain, from growing the crops to marketing. So the role of women in agriculture must be given priority. They must have access to land, they must have access to credits and to financial services. My institution supports a lot of programs here in Ghana. In the last 29, 30 years, we have invested close to $200 million in agricultural programs, in financial programs, and in enterprise development programs in this country. We currently have 5 programs that are ongoing, and these altogether come to close to another $160 million, including support from our development partners. So in short, we're saying that an African Green Revolution is possible. We see it already happening here in Ghana with increased production, the increased investment in agriculture, with the increased growth rate in agriculture. We see it happening in Tanzania, in Malawi, and some other countries in the African continent. So, in brief, we are at the threshold of a long journey, a successful long journey, but it calls for a whole government investment in the agricultural sector. With that statement, I would be very pleased to take your questions.
Okay, are there any questions? Yes.
Idris Akamo is my name, from the Nigerian Television Authority. I just want to ask, again, Idris Akamo is my name, from the Nigerian Television Authority. While you were speaking at the opening ceremony a while ago, you gave an example of a farmer here in Ghana, a young farmer, that 5-year-old young farmer you met in here in Ghana. I just want to ask, what role now is IFAD going to play to encourage young farmers in Africa? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, let's take a few.
If there are any other
I listened to the Vice President of Ghana when he was making his...
IFAD, as I said during the panel, IFAD works through government institutions and government structures. We don't just go into a country and begin to work outside of government structures, strategies, and priorities. So first of all, let me say that IFAD is the only UN organization or international financing institution that organizes what we call Farmers Forum. And in our regional programs, in fact, even here in West Africa, we have the, what is called in French, ROPA, the Réseau West Africain pour Producteurs Agricoles. That is the network of agricultural producers, exactly. And this is, and we have also in other parts of the world. Now, ROPA is also helping in Eastern Africa to bring a network of farmers. It's a network of farmers, and it's farmers of all categories, young and of all produce, whether it's livestock, whether it's poultry, whether it's crop production. And we have, every 2 years, we have what we call a Farmers Forum, where we bring farmers from all over the world. So you have cross synergies, farmers from Latin America meeting with African farmers, Asia, and so on. For the next session, we're going to have a session, for the next meeting, we're going to have a session dedicated only to youth in agriculture. That is, young farmers. The idea here is that to link them up in the process, in the network where there's a knowledge exchange. It is very essential, as I said earlier, that we see farming as a business. But please, we need to change our own mindset. You heard what President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo said. He described himself as a farmer, and because of that, they kept him for 3 hours in immigrations in Canada, because what is a farmer doing in Canada? Farming is a dignified profession. But farming is not just taking the hoe and tilling the soil to plant your corn, your maize. Farming or agriculture, food production in the whole value chain involves processing. So you can go from primary production to agro-processing, agro-industry. And your agro-industry requires surpluses in primary production. So you have to increase production and productivity to go into agro-processing. You can become an agro-processor. You can add value to the harvest. From there you have to go into storage. you need to have a cold room.